What's good, everybody? This is Philly Fan 1987 with Bleeding Green Daily. So let's get into a few things. First and foremost, everybody is talking about how bad our scouting is. I know it looks bad, but I'm here to tell you that the problem is not who you think it is. A lot of people are blaming the scouts. Scouts' job is to watch film. Scouts' job is to look at film 24/7. They're looking at film, they're talking to coaches, they're talking to this person, they're talking to that person. They're writing up profiles where their job is to look at skill sets, look at measurables, look at play, and determine how great of a fit this player is for the NFL and for the team. That's all they're doing. All they're doing. And when we're talking about college scouts, pro scouts are doing the same thing for pros. But when we're talking about college scouts, that's what they're doing. So when I hear people say that our scouts are horrible, I say no. No. Mm-mm. I'm going to tell you who I believe the problem is. The problem is Howie Rose. And this is I know everyone just stopped and said, "What? Howie's not out here scouting the guys? Howie's not out here writing up these profiles? Howie's not out here talking to these colleges? Howie's not out here doing this? Howie's not out there doing that?" And that's exactly why he is the blame. You're not scouting. You're not doing any of these other things, but you are the one at the top who's making the final call. You're the one who's setting up the draft board. You're the one who on draft day, you're probably getting help from your scouts setting up the draft board. Let me clear that up. But on the day of the draft, you're the one who has final say on trades. You're the one who has final say on pulling the trigger. You're the one who's in the room with Doug Peterson and whatever other top scout you have in there with you making the final call. So if you make the final calls, you pull the triggers, you make the trades on draft day, you're the one submitting the card and making the decision to say, oh, we're going to take an offensive player here. We're going to take a defensive player here. We're not going to get this guy. We're going to get this guy. We're going to make sure we have this guy. I'm going to get you this guy. If you're the guy that's doing that, then it doesn't matter what the scouts put on that board. We don't even get to see the board. So we can't even judge the board because we don't see it. But I'm pretty confident that if these scouts are doing their job all year and they're college scouts, so they're not worried about what's going on with Carson Wentz, this, that, and the third, all they're doing is watching tape on players, regardless of position, regardless of this, that, and the third, and trying to bring the best player fits for our team to us, whether it be a quarterback, whether it be a kicker, whether it be a wide receiver, whether it be a running back. They're looking at our scheme, our fits, the measurables we want, the kind of players we want, and scouting them. Even the players we don't want or may not even ever consider, you're still going to get that scouting report. But if Howie's the one that's making the final call and he's not a football guy, he's not a scout, he's not the one doing all these things, then he is to blame. He is to blame. Now, the other reason why I'm going to say he's the biggest problem that we have right now is because you're the one making the final calls on the draft picks. You're the one bringing in talent in free agency and deciding who we're going to take, who we're not, who we're going to pay, who we're not. You're also responsible for our undrafted free agent pool. You're also responsible for deciding who we bring in from that. You're also responsible for cap management. Now, What I don't think you're so responsible for is the practice squad. And those guys have been successful. Those guys have been looking pretty good. Maybe you are. If you are, then okay, I'll give you a kudos there. But the biggest things that impact our team going forward is you. The person who's got us in cap hell right now is you. We don't know how to draft the right players for the right value. We're skipping players that we should bring in and draft. They're becoming superstars for other squads. The free agents that you're bringing in during free agency, most of the time, aren't hitting on anything. So we're wasting money. We're not finding long term talent. And we're not drafting players. Our team is trash on a regular basis consistently because of you. Our players are injured partly because you keep bringing in old guys who are injury prone, thinking that you can get a cheap sale uh, by buying your Jays from the swamp, from the swap meet. And the Jays are spelled with I's. The J's are not J's, they're actually L's. So we getting Lordens instead of Jordans because you're trying to get a deal and trying to get something that looks like it's going to be an all-star, and we getting frauds. You are part of the reason, Howie, why uh, our team continuously has injuries. It's just the reason why we have Alshon Jeffrey and Deshaun Jackson here. And then another thing, another thing, we can't trade guys. You used to be able to trade guys like it was nothing. We haven't been able to trade anybody. We can't trade players who are injured. We can't trade players who are no longer good anymore. We can't trade players who are just not fits. Like, you're not able to make a trade at all. Like, what's going on? Like, you're really slipping. And if you're slipping that bad, that's a problem. Now, there is definitely a problem with being able to develop guys, um, finding guys who are team fits, all of those things. But that kind of still falls on you too if you're bringing in people that aren't fits, if you're bringing in people that aren't going to be coachable, if you're bringing people who are not defensive or offensive scheme fits, that's on you too. So I'm just going to wrap it up and say it's Howie. It's Howie. It's Howie. We don't have DK Metcalf because of Howie. I know. I still rather have Brandon Graham, but those people, we had Earl Thomas fall to us. We had all these great players fall to us, and we decided we were smarter than everyone else. We could have had a linebacker in the first round. We take Jalen Reagor, and that's still fine. I like how the guy plays, but we could have had a linebacker. Um, we wouldn't have had Nick Gary getting ate up out there. We could have had Jeremy Chin, who's killing it for another team right now, and we trying to make makeshift safeties. Like, this is the stuff that I'm talking about. We are never going to be an elite team until we can draft players. And for those people who are saying, no, maybe it's Andy Weidl's fault. Maybe. But think about this. Who brought Andy Weidl in? Joe Douglas brought Andy Weidl in. Who brought Joe Douglas in? Yes, Howie Roseman. We think Howie Roseman brought Joe Douglas in. Could have been Jeffrey Lurie. But Joe Douglas came from the Ravens. The Ravens have been drafting pretty darn good. The Ravens had Joe Douglas and Andy Weidl working under Ozzie Newsome, and Ozzie Newsome trusted Joe Douglas and Andy Weidl. A guy who knows scouting, a guy who is a pretty good GM when it comes to bringing talent onto the team, trusted these two scouts who come here, Joe Douglas did what he did, and now um, he's with the Jets. And now that we're seeing talent come on the field, we can kind of make the assumption that Joe Douglas did a good job of drafting talent because we're seeing people from the O line, people at the bottom of the roster, UFDAs, and all these people contributing now who didn't have a shot to contribute the last couple of years. So we can't really say that the last two drafts were trash in terms of talent. In addition to that, Joe Douglas, his number two guy was Andy Weidl. Andy Weidl was here with Joe Douglas when we had the last couple of drafts. So I think Andy Weidl is fine as a talent evaluator and a person who's able to pass down to the scouts what he's looking for and building the draft board and all of that. The problem that we really have, and what we've consistently seen over the last 5 to 6, 10 years, or however much time we've been under Howie Roseman, is the person at the top who mismanages the draft live and in action, thinking that he's outsmarting everyone, taking this person here, taking this person down, willing and dealing. And when it comes down to people coming on the team and playing, he's being outsmarted by everyone else, and we're stuck with the damage. It's simple. It's Howie Roseman.